Welcome to our live training session. We're going to be taking a look at how to calibrate and tune a Honda Civic Si using a MaxxEcu. Now let's jump into some details about our vehicle. We're going to find that our Honda Civic Si has been swapped with a Honda K24 engine along with a 6-speed transmission. Now the K24 engine has been rebuilt. It has about a 12.5 13:1 compression ratio, aftermarket pistons and rods. We have upgraded valve train, upgraded Type S oil pump, and stock camshafts with a 50-degree VTC gear. Now on the intake side of things, we have Kinsler individual 64mm throttle bodies. We have on the fuel system side of things, RDX 410cc injectors, an upgraded in-tank fuel pump. In addition to this, we also have a 0 to 100 psi fuel pressure sensor mounted into our fuel system. On the exhaust side of things, we have a header back exhaust, and we're going to be learning how to calibrate and tune this using an alpha end strategy with our MaxxEcu. So we have a lot of things to cover and to talk about in setting up a base map and doing our calibration process with our MaxxEcu. So let's jump into our very first tutorial here, looking at how to create a base map around an alpha end strategy. Welcome to our live training session here. We're going to be taking a look at how to create our base map in this tutorial, specifically looking at setting up our inputs and outputs. We're going to have the base map creation tutorial separated into two separate tutorials. So this is going to be digging into some of the background details, inputs and outputs. The next tutorial is going to be taking care of the programming tables, setting values in our VE table, spark timing table, variable cam control table, and setting up all of those specific 2-dimensional and 3-dimensional table values so we have a good starting point for beginning our calibration process. So the very first thing I want to do here is jump right into our MTune software and take a look at the status of where we're at. So moving on to my laptop screen, you can see right here the ECU online status is showing that we are online. I have my laptop plugged into my MaxxEcu and I have the ignition key powered on. Now the engine's not running, so I'm key on, engine off status. So what I'm going to do from here is work with this default file and change it all around so that it's going to be working and configured for my specific wiring details and the engine I'm trying to control. So this is a default value from Link for this race box that we have installed here on our Civic Si, but it is not set up for a K-series or any of my inputs and outputs. That's our job here in this tutorial. Let's go and take a look at how we can start this process. So moving in here, we're going to find on the left-hand side, this is our navigation pane. We're going to be just going down through various sections here and setting up our details that we need to program. So the first thing we're going to do here is go into configuration and take a look here under our engine settings. Now under engine settings, we have to specify the engine type. Now we're controlling a piston 4-stroke engine, so that's correct. The cylinder count is going to be a 4-cylinder engine. Now here, the engine displacement. This is important that we set this correctly. This is going to be telling the max the volume of the cylinder that we're going to be dealing with here. So the volume of the cylinders, I should say, because it's all the cylinders together. It's going to give a volume per cylinder a calculation, and that's going to tell the max, working with the volumetric efficiency table, how those VE values translate to a cylinder filling specific for that engine. So the cylinders, number of cylinders, and the engine displacement, these two parameters here are very important. Now the engine I'm dealing with is a K24 engine. It's not a 2-liter engine, so it's not a 2000 cc. So in this case, we need to know the specific engine displacement, so we entered in here correctly. Now this is an 87.5mm bore and a 99mm stroke. On this particular bore and stroke combination, I plugged it into an online calculator and it returned 2,384 cc. That's what I'm going to go put into my field right here so it expresses the correct displacement for the engine we're working with here. So in this case, we'll say type in here 2,384 cc. Now the max cranking RPM, this is going to be telling the max when we're cranking our engine, what it's considered to use the cranking tables for fuel and spark, and then switch over the threshold, switch over to the normal run tables. So the normal VE table, the normal spark timing table, those values. It's going to be that switch over point. 250 to 300 RPM here is sufficient. I'm going to leave it at 300. That's fine. Now the firing order here is going to be important. The firing order on most inline 4-cylinder engines is going to be 1-3-4-2, which we see designated right here. The firing angle calculation, we can just say automatic even fire. That's going to be fine for this. ECU log settings, we don't need to worry about right now. Bluetooth settings, we don't need to worry about. Manual firmware update. Now, I have went ahead and made sure that this box has been firmware updated ahead of time. We do want to make sure the firmware and software are matching so that when we're commanding, certain various features in the software, it's going to command the hardware on the actual Max board to do what we're asking. We're not going to have any kind of oddities there in control, so you want to definitely take care of that beforehand. And again, I've already made sure that we are up to date. 2 notes, we can go in here and just add some notes. We can just say here Honda Civic Si. We can say K24 engine, 12.5:1 compression, and we can say Kinsler ITBs, and we can say RDX 410cc injectors. Just some details about what we're working with here. End-tune settings. This is going to be setting the configuration details for working within the software. So language English, update speed fast, automatic change to performance mode enabled, table size small. We can turn that to a large if we would like to. We're not worried about the engine start shortcut. We're not using that. Displayed units. Now I'm going to be working in units of Fahrenheit for my temperature. That's what I'm more comfortable and familiar with. Go and change that to, if you're used to working with Celsius, you can change it here. Pressure, I'm going to leave it in kPa. I prefer to work in units of kPa. Speed, mile per hour. Volume, cc. Distance, feet and miles, and consumption, miles per gallon. So I'm a little bit mixed up in my units. I like to work with some metric units and some standard units, so just kind of my preferences for tuning. ECU lock, I'm not going to put a lock on the ECU right now, so let's go ahead and just minimize this. Thanks for checking out our teaser clip. If you want to see the rest of this video and more than 500 hours of current EFI training we have to offer, make sure you click right here. If you want to go and check out more teaser clips from this training course, click here, and you don't want to miss any of the videos we're going to be releasing on this channel, so make sure you subscribe and click here. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys later.